Territory viability is a big issue when buying a franchise. Sometimes it can even kill the entire deal. Here's what you need to know about selecting the right territory. Territory viability is a really big question in a franchise. Nobody wants you to buy a franchise in a territory that isn't going to work. You don't want that to happen, nor does the franchisor want to happen. I want to say that first and foremost, because I think a lot of candidates really don't believe that good franchisors want you to be successful. But who does it benefit if they award a territory to you that doesn't work? It doesn't benefit anybody. Because if you fail, they have to disclose that in their franchise disclosure document. They don't want you to do that, so they want to set you up for maximum success. If they're using your money and your time to help them build their brand, why do they want to award you a territory that won't work? So let's take that off the table. If the franchisor has defined your area as one that will work, then it will work. But the question is, can you believe that your territory is viable? And how do you get comfortable believing that? Should you just take their word for it? No, I'm not saying you should just take their word for it. But there are a couple of things that you can do. The first thing that you're going to do is go through the franchisor's investigation process and understand clearly how they define a territory on paper. A franchisor will typically map out the entire US. Before they award any franchises, they will have the entire US mapped out. So all of these territories on paper are the same. What does that mean, Kim? If I'm in Dallas versus if I'm in small town USA, the territories can't be the same. Yes, the territories will be the same. They will be the same based on population and maybe median household income or average household income. Now, a population that's in a big city may have less windshield time than a territory that's in small town USA, but on paper, they are exactly the same. So the franchisor explains to you what makes a viable territory. And now you're gonna go out and validate with franchisees who live in territories that are demographically similar to yours, and you're gonna ask them in their experience how this business is working for them. So if you're in small town, I don't necessarily want you validating with people that are in a big city because it's not apples to apples. If you're in a big city, I don't want you necessarily validating with people in a small town. Find people in the system who live in an area that's similar to yours, who have what you want. If it's working for them, why will it not work for you? It is a pretty common misconception of candidates, especially early on in their processes, where they'll say, that won't work in my territory. And sometimes that belief is so strongly embedded that it's just better that they move on and find a different company. It's not my job to argue with you and try to prove to you that it can work. It is my job to challenge you to go out there and to ask questions before you believe what you are assuming to be true. But at the end of all of that, if you can't make peace with the territory that this is viable, that this is going to work for you, then you 100% cannot do it. Because the one thing I know to be true after 20 years of franchise consulting is what you believe to be true, you will make true over time. I do not want you setting out to prove somebody right or to prove somebody wrong about a territory. I want you setting out feeling absolutely great about the area that you have to develop. This whole conversation about territory viability oftentimes comes from a place of scarcity, a feeling of lack, like there's not going to be enough people or there's too much competition, therefore there's not enough room for me to compete. My market is too saturated, the same thing as too much competition, but this is how it would present itself. But the idea is that when you're doing your due diligence, you're going to be able to ask franchise owners in their experience what makes a good territory, and even more important and more clear than that, How many customers do I need to make the kind of money that I want to make? When you compare the number of customers that you need relative to the total area that you're being awarded, any concern that you have over saturation or competition or viability should immediately go away, because the disparity between the number of customers that you will need to build any size business that you can imagine relative to the total population that you're being awarded, I'm telling you, it will be less than 1% in almost every single case. Okay, maybe it's 2%, but even still, if you only need, let's pick 1%. If you need 1% of your market or a half of 1% of your market, do you really have to worry about competition? If you're worried about competition, then we have a much bigger problem. I think your problem is a lack of confidence either in the marketing by the franchisor or in your ability to use these tools to become a successful franchise owner. So the real question about market viability, I think, honestly, comes from a very different place than what people are actually saying to me. I think it comes from a place of, I'm scared, Kim. I'm worried this isn't going to work out. I feel out of control. So when we feel like this, we look at all of these things outside of ourselves that could cause our demise, and we call it that. But is it that? Or is it something else? If you want to say yes to your dreams to own a franchise business, you have to take a leap of faith. You have to trust that the franchisor wants what's good for you, that the franchisor is going to award you a territory that's viable, whether that requires a lot of windshield time between customers or a little windshield time. The territory will be the same from market to market to market, and the territory will work if you work the territory. After 20 years of doing this, I will tell you with certainty that territories do not make owners successful. It is owners who make territories successful. For more information on how to assess the viability of a territory and to really understand with clarity how to figure out how many customers you need to make all the kind of money that you want so that you can back up and feel 100% confident that what I am saying is true, I would love to be your daily coach. Please contact me today using the email on the screen. And if you have enjoyed this video and you want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe and then ring that notification bell.